what's going on right now. There's been so many things, and since the beginning of what's going on in the world with COVID-19 and all of these things, from the very beginning of COVID-19, I just definitely saw myself stepping up to help as many people as I can. And then as I see the folks in my life, people that I've been mentoring and other folks that have been able to make changes in their life to work through what's going on in the world and actually have prosperity where they're not only taking care of themselves and their families, but they're also helping others. So this is about compassion. This is about helping others. And today is no different. Today's guest is Bronkar Lee, a really good friend of mine, and also someone that I've been able to help right now during everything going on with this pandemic. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Bronkar.
Thanks for having me, brother.
It's a pleasure. And I just want to kick it off because this is a 30-minute format, a little different. Bronkar and I like to talk for hours, but I just want to start with, when you noticed that this pandemic was not a short thing, that it was actually staying and this is turning into a marathon, what became most important? What went to the top of the list? Like, oh my gosh, what was most important at that point when you noticed it wasn't going well?
Yeah, really simple. Health first, connection with my boys and my family, and then business. And that was in that order. So I had to get control of my health. Number one, my mental thoughts and where my mind was going, my physical body, that was number one. So I had to make sure to check my health first, stay healthy, stay positive, stay optimistic, also stay real, but seeing the real truth as opposed to the fake truth. And then it went through that sequence, and it was like my family, my two boys, my wife. And then it was like, okay, what are we doing business wise? And reinvention and pivoting and all of those buzzwords have been obvious for me as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and obviously it seems like your priorities are in the right place, because even putting your health at that height, if you don't have that, then how are you going to take care of your family? And then if you can't do that, then how can you really take care of your business? So the sequence totally makes sense. And I want to highlight what's been, you feel like, your biggest success. And I know it might sound odd to talk about what's the biggest success during this pandemic, but I think we do have to celebrate these things. And that's part of this show, is celebrating these changes. And one quick mention before I have you answer that is that we're doing a WOW client webcast. And you know about this program. It's something so we can help people gain the clients that they want during this time. So how do we do business authentically? Because so many people are talking about this. How do you sell when people are going through all these challenges? Well, you've got to be really, really authentic, and you got to really, really care. And then when you do that, and you take what your product or service is and you couple that with the need, which should have always been, for me, that's always the way it's been. And now it's like, it's not okay. So one blessing out of this whole thing is that people can't sell the old way anymore. You can't go and just try to take money from people. You've got to actually give. And so I'm excited about that. And so we do this 90-minute webcast to teach people some of these tactics. And I know you know some of them, and I guess that teeters. So you can just look at the link if you want to register for one of those. I just wanted to leave that for everyone. And for Bronkar, what would you say has been the biggest success with this change, with moving in this for you and your family? What would you say has been the biggest?
Well, I would say there's been a ton of successes, but focusing on a single success, well, I would want to choose one from personal and one from business. And that would be the personal one is definitely the health and connection and maintaining as much of that in the house, right? Maintaining our connection, maintaining our joy, maintaining all of that in the house. So that's number one. Before anything business wise, that's always number one. And that's self-care. If we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't do anything in life, And so, but the biggest business success is that actually we started putting on, and I had this moment with my wife, amazing wife and business partner and sanity goddess, Cindy, where we were stuck in the muck, right? I was trapped in the muck. So I immediately hit frustration, fear, anger, doubt, insecurities, uncertainty, all of that came immediately. And we were having a conversation one day, and my energy is like, I'm a really positive person. I'm a public speaker. I'm a coach. I'm really revved up all the time with positive energy. But when I get down, I get super down. It's like extremes. There's no middle ground with me, right? And I was down. I was stuck in the muck one day, and my wife and Cindy was just like, I can't be around you anymore. She was like, I'm so frustrated because you're so frustrated. And then she looked at me and she said, here, put these on. And I was like, what? And she was like, put these on. And I was like, she was just holding up her hands like this. And I was like, what are those? And she said, they're gratitude glasses. Put them on. And so I made my hands like this and I put them over my eyes like this. And I was like, okay, I've got my gratitude glasses on. What am I supposed to do now? And she says, okay, everything you look at through those glasses, everything you see, you start to see the opportunity, the optimism, the possibilities, right? And so I started looking around, and that's where I started seeing. It was because it was so ridiculous and so silly, but it was an action, right? And it made me laugh. It took me out of my state right away of frustration, fear, doubt, insecurity by doing the silly thing. And then I started to see the possibilities. And so through that, we actually we were able to reinvent our business, because our old model of business was more of a job, which I'm grateful for, but it was me getting on airplanes and doing keynote performances and concerts and things like this, to reinventing ourselves, to building a business to where I'm actually able to work from home. I'm still doing virtual conferences and keynotes and concerts and things like that, but we're doing a lot more coaching and working with groups and individuals and things like that. And we were only able to do that because of like the limitations of the current events in the world. But once I put on the gratitude glasses, I was able to see the gratefulness and see the opportunity and possibility. And that's when we went back to the drawing board and actually pulled up a lot of old ideas and things that we were working on years ago that we had never had time to give ourselves permission to step into reinventing ourselves and building that more sustainable business.
That's amazing. Well, kudos to Cindy. And I love the gratitude glasses. And it is those things that break the moment. It's like with my kids, when they were younger, and I haven't used it as much, but it just reminded me, I made this reset button. So and I had to develop this when they weren't in a catastrophe, but when the kids had a complete breakdown, I said, hit the reset button. They already knew about it. I had to teach them when everything was calm, right? Because if you try to teach a kid that when they're having the catastrophe, forget about it. But we hit the reset button, and then we just hugged until it was all better, and it's that moment. And it even works with us as adults. Like, it made you laugh how ridiculous this is. But then when you tried it on, you were able to laugh and see it. So awesome, changing the state. And then I'm curious with now, because, like you said, this whole pandemic made you stop, rethink your business. And now you're designing it more the way that you want. So you're not having to get on planes, as things open up, if you choose to. But how cool is it that you can create revenue in a business that can make you money from wherever you are and not have to do those things? So I'm curious, now that you've developed this, what does having that do for you?
Yeah, great question, brother. I think it gives more. It gives us more possibility, really. So as things kind of move into their next chapter, I won't say as they go back to how they were, but as things move into the next iteration or next chapter of our lives as humanity, there's definitely going to be traveling for me, and there's definitely going to be live presentations and things like that. But now we've designed more of an infrastructure to where all of those opportunities are connection moments with people to start developing those relationships. And the way I look at it is, before I was kind of like the one trick pony, and I was just going around and we were basically creating one day stands with people, doing conferences and getting revved up and hype and all that. And it was cool. And yay, I'm so grateful for it. But also now we're looking at it as, well, that's the first date, right? That's the first touch. That's the first connection with them. And now we've created more systems to pull people in, to add more value, create more we've generated so much more content, working on our second book. We've got so much more to offer now, because we've been kind of forced or strongly invited to really go inward. And when we can go inward and go introspective, that's when we generate that content. That's when we really have the opportunity to have those eye of the storm moments, to reflect on things from the past and refine things and retune and like reinvent, and all of those opportunities that happen in that introspective state. So moving forward, it's changing everything. It's changing everything. There's more possibility, more opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've taken this thing that could have been, like you said, it was even taking you down this darker spiral, and now it's created this huge amount of possibility and openness and a whole new way to live and work. And I want to come back to that. I have a few more questions, but I want to, before we get too far away from the way it was, can prior to this, because I know obviously this has been a big change. What was it like before? Like what was the biggest challenge prior to finding this path?
Yeah, well, I would say like initially, I think you're steering me in the direction of is initially when pandemic hit. Is that what you're kind of steering me
Yeah,
towards
well, and I
then?
think
Or
I was curious. I mean, like I was kind of open. I was thinking about it as I was asking the question. It's a little bit of both. I mean, you kind of did share how you went down first before you came back up. So it's interesting. We could spend some more time there. But I even am hearing you that this is such a big change that, I mean, like you said, there was so much to be grateful for the years past, but even that had its challenge because you were on planes all the time and doing that. So
got
I
it.
guess my question was double. Like, I guess it was bigger than just even this pandemic is what I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah. So even going back a bit further, I would say, for me, again, I'm always the gratitude glasses are on, but it's like grateful for my job and my work and all of that. But before I was definitely traveling a ton and I was gone a lot. And that's one of the biggest pieces of awareness that I've, been able to extract out of the current situations was the importance of connection with I have two young boys, almost 3 and almost 5, and the connection with them and how valuable that is. And how when I'm gone, even if I'm only gone for, let's say 150 days a year, 130 days a year, that's a good chunk. A lot of people are going way more than that, but yeah, but that's a good chunk. Right. But like, and that's like still there's the acclimation periods of on the front end and the back end when I come back and go and everything's different. We're getting back into rhythms. So there's a lack of consistency. It's consistently inconsistent, predictably unpredictable. And so now we've developed this so much of a more powerful routine. And that's again for health, well-being, for connection, for the boys, for all of this stuff that we've cultivated. So there was definitely a lot of that inconsistency that was happening before. And then just to continue to get inside of the challenge where you were kind of alluding to that second part of the question, or iteration of the question, which was then coming into pandemic. And as soon as pandemic came in, we lost the biggest contracts to date. I mean, we were losing hundreds of thousands. We lost immediately hundreds of thousands of dollars from events that were either postponed, hopefully, for next year, et cetera, or flat out canceled. And so that right away, I mean, as soon as that hit, that's what triggered so much of the fear, doubt, insecurity, frustration, anger, all of that. And then immediately came into victim mentality. Why is this happening to me? A lot of the self-centeredness of like, I'm the victim, and obviously there were, everybody was kind of the victim in that sense. But like, once I processed that with the amazing support of my wife and Sanity Goddess and other incredible people like yourself, so many techniques I've learned from you as my soul brother and my mentor and like collaborator. Like, I've learned so many things from you in this process as well, in the reinvention process. Absolutely, dude. So I've got to give props and credit where it's due. And I'm all about that. I've got a lot of hot air and a lot of energy, and I love hyping people up who have served me and added value to my life. And you have done that, my friend, in a major, major way. But yeah, so once we got out of that victim mentality, it was like, all right, what are we going to do? Right? Let's get our heads out of our butts. Let's get unstuck from the muck. Right? Because we were we actually had a line, and we were like, don't get stuck in the muck. And we started making songs out of it and chants. And we were like, don't get stuck in the muck. Don't get stuck in the muck. And then we started writing signs, letters to ourselves or images to ourselves, like little affirmations, and sticking them around the house, like, don't get stuck in the muck. And then obviously focused on what we want to do. But that was everywhere And the boys were like, what does that say? And we're like, don't get stuck in the muck. And but we started doing that. And once we processed we went through that victim mentality, we went through that process, that frustration, that fear, that doubt, that insecurity, which is a very important process to process that, to ventilate it, to get it out. Once we got through that, then it's like, what are we going to do? Now we have a choice to make. And as we know, the choices that we make today dictate the people we become tomorrow. And so we chose a lot of things. And you mentioned something earlier about not selling in the old way, right? But really adding value. And we started doing events for people, started doing, group sessions for free, like musical meditations for companies, and all of this, just adding value to people, doing Facebook live events, just not asking for anything, totally putting that energy out there of, hey, here's some healing energy, some helping energy, some joyful energy, some positive energy to help you, process what you're going through and keep that smile and that optimism in your heart and on your face and in your mind. And so we started doing that. And from that contribution, as well, right, we started receiving back and feeling that, that prosperity or abundance of love and support and kindness and creating more harmony, through that process.
It's so beautiful. Like, so you just poured in this direction and started building that. And then, just like you're bringing this togetherness in your family, you start including others and bringing your good work through a digital virtual application out to the world. And I want to talk more about that. I just want to, just for context, let people know, and we kind of already shared it. So no, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, but I know that, you have been speaking and teaching and a musician, and now moving deeper into the coaching, and your business is going that direction. And then and I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about your business, just so people can get a context of what you're doing. Because basically you're an event business, you're in the event business, so you're deeply affected by this, right? So
Yeah, well, I would
did I
say
kind of get
so.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
did. And so to kind of like wrap all that up. So yes, events business, live keynote presentations for, companies, corporate, all of that, concerts, theaters and things like that. And so there was primary business was live, like almost 100% was live. And the cool part, and then you mentioned, some of the kind of coaching and stuff like that, which is now what I'll get into. But years ago, I was a personal trainer, and I helped. I was actually really overweight when I was younger. I was 100 pounds overweight. I lost that weight on my own. I transformed my own personal, physical health. And then I was so passionate about it. I started helping other people do that. And I helped hundreds and hundreds of people lose weight and get fit. And I was a personal trainer, full time for like 3 years. And then when I got busy doing live performances and things like that, that just consumed my life. And I wasn't able to maintain the consistency that my clients required and really needed for that support. So I transitioned and went full tilt boogie, full time in the live event space.
Wow.
And that just took over. And one thing led to another, and just keynoting, public speaking, live performances, things like that took over. And then when this hit, obviously live experiences went away overnight. And it was this kind of golden opportunity to blend all of these things together. It's like, how do I take all the chops of facilitating crowds and audiences, but then bring back that depth and that connection of serving people and helping people to make, to build better habits in their lives,
Right.
for their personal health, whether it's physical or mental. And then all of the musical stuff that I do, we actually, I've got a app and content and a bunch of stuff called Mindset Music, which is all about consciously engineered music to help get your mind right, so that you can focus, be productive, so you can relax, so you can calm, so you can be at peace. We do guided meditations, instrumental stuff with a whole slew of instruments and things like that.
Wow.
But now we've created all of that stuff coming together, which is under our brand Instrumental Humans. And so now it's just all there, and it has so much more power, so much more love, so much more value, but it's taking the culmination of all those skills and channeling it into one single outlet.
That's so beautiful, and bringing, like, feels like all of the things that you've brought together in your life, the training and all of the entertaining and all of the trainings that you're doing, bring that all into this space to help people now with instrumental humans. So what a beautiful purpose, man, to like, bring all of that together. And I'm curious with all of that, and thank you for sharing that, so that we can people can more understand. And I'm curious, with all of the work that you and I did together, and with the steps that you've taken now during the pandemic, what would you say has been the biggest thing that that I've been able to help you with? What if you were to highlight one? Because I know we worked on a few things, but what would be the biggest thing that's helped turn this success for you?
Yeah, I would say highlighting one is definitely a challenge.
Yeah. Well, we
I've
can
gotten,
see how much we can get. We've got about
yeah,
9 minutes
but
left. So let's start with
yeah,
one and see what happens.
but so much value just overall. But I would say largely for me is, I mean, definitely the business side. So much of more business, more life, and really the business side of structuring things. So much of what my client value journey is for people. Because again, before it was like one and done. It was like these just, you go, it's, I call them the 1-day stands, where I would just go
Right.
out and do a thing. And it was like, we get pumped up, we rah, yay, we get a standing ovation and everybody's revved up, and we do a book signing and we take some photos and give some high fives. And that's awesome. And that feels great. Right. Because then I'm
Right.
validated and they're enthusiastic and everybody wins. It's huge win-win for everybody. But then there's not a follow-up. There's not accountability.
Yeah.
There's not the next steps. There's maybe talking about people's problems, but not actually solving them. Right. Talking
Right.
about people's challenges, but not really helping them work through it. Right. And so
Right.
with working with you, you've illuminated so much of the possibility for creating a structure and a system of like, hey, okay, cool. Let's create a client value journey. Let's have all these opportunities that we've manifested are great. But then what next? And what next? And what next? And how do we continue to pour into them and give more value and serve them and help them and heal and all of that throughout their life? So it's really cultivating a much deeper relationship with my clients. That's definitely, I would say, choosing one. But there's so
Okay.
much beauty in your work, man, for sure. We could do another 4 hours on all that. So
Well, I
yeah.
appreciate. I mean, yeah, that's why it's years of work, and sometimes it's years of mentorship to like get all these things out. But but what I feel so good about is like collapsing time frames, right? Like, if it took me years to learn something that I can teach you in months or weeks, then what an amazing thing, what a thing we can have. And the client value journey is so important. That's why when it comes to more business, more life, it's all about designing our life and then building our business around that. And when you can actually create the journey that works best for you, and that's what's happened. Like, it was almost like someone, without your choice, wiped off the whiteboard of all your plans, and we had to like redraw out your business, right? And I call it there it is, the yellow brick road is another way to put it, right? It's like some way. And I always say, when the value stops, the client value journey stops, right? So that's why it's got to be value, and we keep giving
Yeah.
value. But when we find that, then the one of the biggest challenges in business in general is to find clients. So when you can actually find clients and then keep them, that's where a tremendous amount of growth occurs. So when as you have this client value journey now, I'm curious, what does having that do for you now?
Yeah. It so much. It gives a clear path of where our clients can go. And it also gives so much clarity as to how much value we have, right? And I say we because my wife and I run the business so much, even though I'm the poster boy and I'm doing most of the talking and hyping and everything. I just got a lot of hot air and a lot of
Yeah.
energy. So, so I'm like the velocity coach, right? I really, get in there, but we have so much system and structure. We always talk about passion and practicality. And that
Right.
combination, that marriage is literally what our marriage is. And that's what we bring to people. Like, it's like, what are the systems and things like that actually, how do we integrate this? We get excited, yay. But then what's the integration? What's the
Right, right.
accountability? We always say less information, more integration. Like stop talking and go do something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's really all that matters, to a degree.
Right.
So I would say there's been a huge liberation for us in this process in giving ourselves permission to shine our lights brighter, to get all of that content out of our heads and our hearts, and be able to systematize it and structure it, and realizing how much value we have from our life experiences. We've lived crazy, bizarre lives, from touring as a ringmaster in a Swiss circus to Tonight Show and Madison Square Garden, these crazy experiences, and just moving across the country and living in different places and all this, and the life adventures that we live. And that's really one of our biggest missions, is like to help build momentum for people so that they can live their life adventure with that health, joy, and power. And that's what we've chosen to do. And so that's what we're experts in, is how do we do that? How do we do this? Or we don't know how to do all those things. We know how to do this, and we can help people with that. And so with our work, the client value journey and the clarity around that has given us that liberation of saying, oh, cool, that's what we're masters at. And that's what we've got so much endless amounts of content in. Let's do that.
It's so beautiful. Well, you get to do what you do best and really highlight that. And what I'm hearing, just to like take this whole conversation and culminate it, and then see if you want to add anything to it, is that you've went from speaking to some points where you were gone 150 days out of the year, traveling, which that is a pretty close to half the year, by the way. Like, I mean, I think what is it? It would be like 180. So you're like a month away from being gone a half the year. So I know you said only, and it might feel that way. And I know it was here and there. Maybe there's pockets of a lot and then less. And so it feels good. It's kind of that firefighters mentality or lifestyle, right? They go like 4 days on and they get like a week off in there with their family, so, but you're gone, right? So I feel that you, now that this happened, even though it wasn't your choice at first, now like you're embracing this whole new journey with your clients. You're making a greater impact on their lives because you're kicking it off with everything that you do best, but then you're holding the line with all the training and everything that you're able to do. So you're able to, so I guess this is what I'm getting. You're able to help make more impact with your clients, and create more value, and create this whole new way to do your business so that you can stay home more. You might travel in the future as things open back up, but it could be way less, and you can financially have the abundance in your family to make this choice. Am I getting that?
Yeah,
am
you're
I
nailing it,
like that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I heard. I'm just tracking back everything that you just said, and I don't even know if you realized it, but that's, I mean, when you say 150 days, that's why I hit the word only. I'm like, only 150 days? That's a lot, So congratulations on that. And so I guess, with all that happening, what's the next step, for you? Or I guess, you know what, I'm going to flip this question. What's the one thing that you would say to anyone listening to this right now, if they're in that dark space that you were? Is it putting the gratitude glasses on, or like, what's the first step to pull up the plane when it feels like it's going down? How do we get the velocity back? And is there one thing you could share?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely, gratitude glasses are cool for sure. I would say health is number one. That's got to be the start of everything. So if we're not in an optimistic state of mind, that's okay. That's fine. We don't have to be. There's not a rule that says you have to be, right? So that's the thing for me. I'm real. And it's like, if you're in a crap situation, you're in a crap situation. And sometimes it isn't awesome. And so, but I would say getting the health first, because when our health is strong, when we're strong here, then that affects everything that we do. Every single thing that we do is an extension of that health. It's like that essence, right? It's like everything is a personal essence amplifier. And it's like how you play saxophone is how you do the dishes, is how you parent, is how you do this. All of that is an extension of that essence, which is an extension of the health. And if you can't get out of bed, right, and you can't like just do the basics, you can't do anything for anybody. You can't parent, you can't coach, you can't love, you can't live. You can't do anything. So health is number one. And that's gotta be the core, man. Yeah.
It's so true. Like a lot of times people say, a lot of people know me as the freedom guy, like about freedom, and they think it's all about time. And they think time is the most valuable thing. And I disagree. I think energy is the most valuable thing, because if you have all the time in the world but no energy, then you're at a loss. There's nothing that you can do. And so hands down. And when clients come to me and they say, I'm overwhelmed, the first thing I do is tell them to take a break. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm overwhelmed because I have so much to do. I said, I know. Go take a break and then come back and retool your priority list, So
Yeah,
it's
and you and I are
huge.
so congruent on that. And that's like choosing because it isn't time management at all. It's managing your power. And it's like asking yourself, am I choosing to give my power to this thing? Am I choosing to extend my bandwidth to that thing? That's really what it is. It's choosing where you're putting that power. So it isn't time
Right.
management at all. It's how can we create time harmony and be aware of where we're putting it? Are we in discord? Are we in harmony? Are we choosing to give this our thing? Are we forced to give it our thing? And having all that awareness. And
Right.
that's like so, so, so critical, man, for sure. And that
It's huge.
language is, yeah.
And you could have went down a dark path, right? I mean, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it is for anyone, everyone lost at different levels, of change. But then you can play the best you can. It's kind of like any game, right? You can get dealt certain cards or different things, and then are you going to choose to play? And I hope that this gives you insight. I'm so grateful. I'm putting my gratitude glasses on with you, brother. Like how grateful I am that you shared your story, because there's so many people out there that are feeling those dark places right now. And then you
Yeah.
chose to take action. And not only did that action serve you in recouping where you came from, but you also are now having a better business than you had before. So I'm so grateful, and I'm sure that we can, like you said, there's so many little nuggets that we could share with each other. And this is broadcasting live, so any of you put comments in there. I know Bronkar and his wife and his team, they're active on social media. So if you have further questions, I know you were going to put a gift link in there, so you can go check out Bronkar's music and the different things he's doing with Instrumental Human. And then just a reminder, the Wow Client Webcast, please do. It's a totally free thing that I'm giving on the 3 biggest things that some of them we talked about with Bronkar right here, how to change your game right now in your business. And did you want to say something about that gift you're going to give,
Yeah.
Bronkar?
So we want to give, so our gift is basically what we call a 3-day momentum challenge. And it's just 3 little videos, and it's got musical meditations in there. It's got some content in there, some ways that people can get in with the setting their mindset right and starting to take those actions to the next chapter of, living your life adventure with, health, joy, and power. So that's going to be in the
Beautiful.
comment section here, but that's the 3-day momentum challenge for sure.
And I would just one thing, I know we're over time, but Bronkar's music has made such an impact in my life. When I am, when I'm going through something or I need to center myself, just putting on, and there's so many different things, like from music that picks you up to music that calms you down. So so grateful to have you in my life, Bronkar, with all the talents that you bring. And thank you so much for sharing and bringing this to everyone else. And so we wish you the most prosperity that you can have. And remember that this is a choice. What are you going to do? We've all been dealt what's happening right now. And it comes back to our own personal choices that can make a difference on how we react to what's going on. So I hope that these shows are helpful. Please let me know what you'd like to learn more of. Please let me know what's been most valuable from the prosperity and the pandemic. And go to the Wow Client Webcast, absolutely free. It's my gift to continue to help people make the change they need in their life right now during this pandemic. So thank you so much. Thank you again, Bronkar. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, brother.